Hey everybody and welcome to the A to Z show where we possibly have the worst weekend of movies of 2015 because we have 4 wide releases and none of them are good. Now I saw 3 of them, didn't catch Paranormal Activity 5, 6, 409, whatever it is because, well, that's not my cup of tea and I'm pretty sure it would have been just as bad as the 3 that I wasted my time on and I hope you don't. But nonetheless, let's still cover them even though I like to do individual videos. I really don't want to waste your time on all of these, so I wasted my time with it trying to combine them all into one and still want to give you the good, the bad, and the bad, and the bad, and I guess something in between of all of these movies, starting off with The Last Witch Hunter. Now, if you don't know, Vin Diesel is a big geek. I mean, he loves Dungeons and Dragons. He has a Melkor, which is his character name in Dungeons and Dragons, which you got from Tolkien, tattooed somewhere on his body. And the dude, sure, he's a macho man, but he loves making these franchises like Riddick and, this one as well that he wants to create and make multiple of. And this movie, even being one that has been in the works for a long time, it was a 2010 blacklist script, which means that it's one of the best scripts that hasn't been made. Don't know how it got that title. But here he's pretty much able to take a game that he probably played of Dungeons and Dragons and was like, man, that was a really good game that we had there. Let's make that into a movie, and where he is playing a witch hunter who gets an immortal curse, so he's not able to age, and then he's also just supposed to be the last of the witch hunters. He has an apprentice. He has Rosie Leslie, who's beautiful in the movie. He has Michael Caine. But the movie tries way too hard, is not a good movie for what it's meant to be, but it also isn't bad enough for you to go in there and just be like, oh, I could get a couple of good laughs out of Vin Diesel being a witch hunter, which you obviously are going into this movie for 2 reasons. You like Vin Diesel or you like the special effects. Sure, the special effects are there, they look nice if that's your cup of tea, but they bombard you with it at a certain point, and it's like they can't even have character development without a CGI demon or witch coming in there to just destroy everything. And then if you're in it for Vin Diesel's gotten to the point where he tries a little bit too hard to please everybody. He wants it to be a family film. He wants it to be a date film the way he's been pitching it when he's out there, but then he also wants to please the nerd side of him without, blocking out everybody else who sees him as a macho man. So he's trying to encompass everything, and at a certain point, it just doesn't work. The movie also comes from director Breck Eisner, who did The Crazies, and he also did Sahara. Comes from the writers who did Priest and Dracula Untold. If you like those movies, then maybe there is something here for you. If you do not watch this movie, and also stay away from the sequel, which they heavily pitch towards the end of the film. The next film that we have is Rock the Casbah, which I'm not saying is worse than The Last Witch Hunter in terms of entertainment or quality, but I'm still putting it worse mainly because of the way they manipulate the story in which they were inspired by. And that story is one that the writer Mitch Glazer, who also penned the script for Scrooge, was looking at the story of a Muslim woman, a true story, in where she wanted to sing and dance, but obviously they're very repressed over there in the way that they have their culture. But she said, you know what, I'm still going to do it. Went to Afghan Star, which is the American Idol equivalent, and she went and she sang and she danced, which obviously caused death threats. They harassed her and a lot of bad things, and all of that was actually put into a documentary in Sundance, also titled Afghan Star. So you do have a really amazing character to cover, and they actually have a form of her by the actress who was in the underrated movie, which is Omar. But instead, the writer, the directors, everybody just decides, we can cover her story. Or what if we just do that, shining white god that comes in and saves the day for the minorities, and we do it from the point of view of Bill Murray's scumbag dealer guy who likes to bring just artists who he knows aren't going to be good, but he just tries to get pennies on the dollar from them. And that's what the movie focuses on instead. Now, don't get me wrong, Bill Murray is able to do his thing in where he's gone by with just being sort of the character who's sarcastic, he doesn't care. He does the perfect just looking at the camera, and he has that reaction face. But even it felt like Bill Murray didn't care about this. Now, I'm a big Cubs fan. I saw all the interviews with Bill Murray there, and where the week right before the movie comes out is the most important week to go out and talk about your movie. He's like, I do not care about this movie whatsoever. I'm here more so just for the Cubs. I don't care about Rock the Casbah. Not to mention, you also have another actor, Bruce Willis, who obviously is known for loving the movies that he's in. He's not. But then just going back to the point of the story and having this guy that you're supposed to root for him to have his final, last score and have his moment of redemptiveness where you're like, why? Why should I care when there are other people, since the movie's taking place in Afghanistan, who are dying for their hopes and their dreams and everything else that they hope to accomplish? And you're just here because you want one last score. It's not like Danny Collins where you actually were rooting for Al Pacino's character because of the way that his story is told and what he's going through. This guy is a scumbag. You're not really going for him. There's a lot of cliches in where he has that woman who he's staying with, who's portrayed by Kate Hudson, Zooey Deschanel, who I believe is still playing just Zooey Deschanel as she always does. But nonetheless, it's a movie that there's a good aspect to the movie. And that movie is told in the documentary Afghan Idol, or Afghan Star, so just watch that movie instead. As for the final film, and the worst of the bunch, Gem and the Holograms, coming from the director who has done other toy movies before like G.I. Joe, has also done the Justin Bieber Never Say Never concert, comes from producer Jason Blum, so you know that there's a reason why this movie is like half YouTube video at certain points. It's the laziest movie, the most redundant, trying to be a musical, so it makes sense whenever they, out of nowhere, just start singing. But this movie is so bad that if you thought the trailer was horrible, it's false marketing because the movie's actually even worse. And where you have this character named Jericho who gets recorded and their video goes on YouTube and it just blows up with its 30-something thousand views, she automatically becomes a pop sensation the next day. She brings her biological sister and her two foster sisters and her aunt Molly Ringwald's trying to like hold the business together. Pretty much the whole story is that she wants to get signed, so they go over with the same guy who is also in The Boy Next Door, who is a 30-year-old who's still trying to play a sort of college student, but it's like, dude, you're way too old to be doing this. And the whole thing is that in the actual 80s TV series, which I'm not super aware of, but I can definitely tell throughout the movie whenever they were saying lines that they were the most horrible Easter egg type of references from the original series. But in that original series, it's supposed to be like this whole Hannah Montana thing, and where she doesn't really want to tell everybody her identity, so she becomes a hologram in this thing that her father made called Synergy. And the whole thing that they have here is that, well, we're not going to do that because the whole point of this movie is that the director wanted to tell a story of a person with internet fame who just makes it big. But obviously you can't make those things. It's sort of like having a crew come in to make a movie about Aaron Paul racing in cars. But you can't just sell that movie, so you take Need for Speed and put it on there. Here, they just take Gem and the Holograms, even though it has nothing to do with Gem and the Holograms. They do the same thing they did in Fantastic Four, where up to that last minute, that mid-credit scene where they want to continue on with a sequel, do they go, hey, you should be Gem and the Holograms. The whole reason why they took the franchise name is just to be able to sell the movie. It is pointless. It is redundant. They do these random close-up shots. They do, again, like I said, a lot of it is just YouTube video footage. They break out in singing in random moments that are worse than a Disney Channel movie that was rejected and they were just going to put it on YouTube because it's horrendous. And on top of that, they're trying to tell this story in where it's the idea of our culture today cares so much about the internet and becoming famous in that way and trying to make yourself, something out of that. But it is told horrendously in this movie, and it's like whatever heart you thought you had, my poster's not even having it. Look, whatever thought or heart they thought they had in this movie, it is just not there. All these movies that came out this weekend are not worth watching. They all want to continue on with sequels. They should not. Watch anything else. Steve Jobs got a wide release. Watch that movie instead. Other than that, we can discuss or rant about any of these movies down below. If you like them for whatever reason, we can discuss whatever aspect you liked. Again, there are different aspects for each one of these movies that might be enjoyable at certain points, but overall, especially some of these that are 2 hours long, are not worth watching and wasting your time. Nonetheless, we can discuss the movies down below in the comment section. Until next time, I'll be seeing you guys later.